The current project is to rebuild the brake calipers on the rear of the 944. I already removed them. It's pretty easy to do. 2 bolts with a 19mm head, a hard line that goes into the caliper. And one of the things that I found, I got this bag full of silicone cone-shaped stoppers of all different sizes. So you can press that into the line and keep it from dripping out all your brake fluid and making a huge mess. I also got new rotors. I spent a little time cleaning these up, but I wasn't quite satisfied with what I was seeing on the surface, and I just figured rotors are a wear item and we'll replace them, make it all new. You can see these calipers are pretty rusty and dirty, and this one in particular from the passenger side had significant uneven pad wear. So we've got about 3 to 4 millimeters on one side and more like 7 millimeters on the other. So something on here was stuck, but we're going to pull this all apart, put new seals in there, clean it all up, and get it painted and make it like new again. So in order to get the pads out, you need to take this retaining clip out, and then you want to get these slide pins out. These are pretty rusty. That's one way to get that spring out. It just came flying out. And I do have a new hardware kit for this, so these will all get tossed. See if we can do this without making too much of a mess. This piston, I think this was stuck, and that's why it was not wearing the pads evenly. You can see the boot here is torn up, so it probably got a good amount of rust inside. Hopefully that'll clean up and we don't need to buy a new one, but we'll see once we get into it. So I think we just have to slide this part out. Yep, there it goes. Yeah, that boot is just totally wasted. So maybe if we take that out, there we go. Now, can we push that out with compressed air, or is it really stuck? Yeah, it's pretty stuck. Put it in the vise and brute force it out. Oh, wow. Oh, that started to move. Okay, now we're starting to move a little. Ah, there we go. Alright, not as bad as I thought. That'll clean up. Definitely a lot of crud inside there. Most of the surface looks pretty good. We'll hit that with a Dremel and see how well it cleans up. Definitely don't want to hit the piston with any abrasive, including the wire wheel, because that's what rubs against the seal inside the cylinder that holds the brake fluid in. So that's the most critical surface, that and the seal, the rubber seal itself. And the rubber seal, I do have a replacement. Obviously, you don't want to reuse that. But yeah, it seems like there was just some crud on here. The piston itself looks like it's in really good shape. Yeah, I think that's going to work fine. Yeah, we'll do a little more cleanup inside that cylinder and we'll be good. Then what we're going to do, get all the rust off of all these. You know, I could just run them with a wire wheel all over them, but that's quite a bit of work. Given the rust coating that's on them, I think I'm going to drop it in a bucket of phosphoric acid. I'll probably not get that inside the cylinder. I'll just wire wheel this part and soak the other parts. So I just spent a few minutes with the wire wheel in the bench grinder hitting this, and it's actually in good shape. I think it was really just mostly oily dirt that was on here. So I do see rust on the other parts, but maybe it's worth hitting them on the wire wheel first and see how they do. So there's definitely areas of rust on here, so they will still get dipped in phosphoric acid, but some of the areas were just oily, dirty, and those clean up quick. So it's hard to get into all these areas on that bench wheel. So maybe I'll do the handheld grinder with a wire wheel in it, try to get as much of that crud off of there before I dip them. And that way the acid will easily etch out all that rust and clean them up nice, and then get them ready for paint. So I gave these parts a soak for a few hours, and you get this sort of grayish black finish to it. What I read is that's an iron phosphate coating that's ready for paint, and that actually prevents it from flash rusting as well. So I'm probably going to wipe these down with some isopropyl alcohol and shoot some paint on them. Gave everything a quick coat of this Caliper paint to clean them up, and hopefully that lasts and keeps them looking good. Well, we're into it. Might as well get these dust shields off. Uh-oh. I guess we'll be drilling that one out. I ran a number 6 drill through, which is supposed to be the right drill size for an M6 tap, and it seemed to knock out the rest of it. I don't know how good my threads are left in there, but yeah, it might be enough. It's a little loose, definitely. So for the other side, I just tried hitting this with the pressure washer first to get all the greasy, oily dirt and stuff off, and that did a pretty good job. I mean, you can certainly see there's quite the layer of rust on there, but at least getting through all that grease, that's going to help the phosphoric acid get in there better. Although I'm probably going to hit it with a wire brush first, but certainly makes it a little easier to handle too. You're not getting all that dirt all over your fingers. Didn't see it before, but got a little bit of a tear in that boot as well. Let's see if this one comes out with a little air blowing into it. Sure did. Certainly some crud on there, but I think gonna clean up just fine. Yeah, I don't really see much for pitting on this one, so I think we're in good shape. Alright, it's bath time for these guys now. While we're cleaning up those calipers, might as well take these e-brake shoes off and look at everything. I took an opportunity to pressure wash everything under here to just clean up all the crud. There we go. Stuff looks a whole lot better after you clean it up. Debating whether I'm going to get all new springs and parts, but I suppose these are probably fine. It's not like these shoes get a lot of wear. There's certainly plenty of friction material on them. Maybe we'll just clean that up a bit on the wire brush and call it good. Why replace all this stuff if it's in decent shape? These are a little rusty, but definitely solid. We got these parts kits from ATE. So it gives you the plastic guides, the seal, and the boot, and instructions with impossibly small print on there in all kinds of languages. But critical thing here is this angle measurement. It's kind of hard to see on that diagram. So you can see the top of the piston is cut away. And the idea is, as the wheel is turning, you want that cutaway part on the leading edge of the pad so that it's not biting the front edge of the pad into the rotor. And you need to make yourself a little angle out of cardboard or metal. It's 20 degrees. So when you put the piston in, you're going to line up that cutaway to the 20 degrees. Pretty simple. We'll do that after it's assembled. So I'm going to put the piston in after it's assembled, but I think I'll put the seals in now. Alright, that did make it slide in a lot better. So the concave part of the bracket, as the inside goes towards the wheel, and the input and the bleeder stay to the outside. This takes a little bit of persuasion to get on there. Not too bad. Put our guides in there. I don't know if these are Teflon. It does feel like sort of slippery plastic. So now we just have to finagle with this spring. We got to push it down and spread this side out. A little more brute force and a few curse words, and we got it in there. Just by hand. Okay, let's see if we can figure out our angle here. So this is passenger side. So it's going to be facing like this. That's the front of the car. And that's going to be our angle like that. The directions say to add some brake grease inside the boot. There, I think I got that into the groove. And then we got to get this ring around here. One more check on the angle, that's good. Why do I feel like I did that wrong? I almost feel like the angle needs to be that way. That would make more sense because the wheel is coming in this way. On to the next one. I'm going to put our spring on first. Now, I almost want to put the piston in now because I think that's going to be easier. I got a lot better access to it. Alright, so this one is driver's side. So here we're going to have I'm going to look at this one again and realize I did it still wrong. Because I've got, this is passenger side facing out like that, tires going this way, so it's really got to be on the bottom. So disc brake is behind the axle, wheel is turning this way, so it's hitting from the bottom, so we need to do it like that, and we're pretty close right there. Nice smear of grease on the inside. Seems to go on if you just sort of press it into the groove. That'll help draw it in all the way around pretty easily. Close. Okay, almost. There it is. Let's check this once again. Driver's side. We could turn it slightly counterclockwise. Perfect. Alright, so it's at the bottom like that. So passenger side, yeah, it's going to be like that. Okay, that's good. I think these are ready to go back on the car, except for a little bit of touch up on there. I gotta remember how this thing went on. Get that one in place. Get our spring. And then we'll hook this, and can we that's good. Okay, that's the way to do it. All right, now we'll get our star wheel in. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then we just have our upper spring. How's that look? That's pretty good. I think I'm going to hit these shoes with a little bit of sandpaper just to clean up the surface a tiny bit. I probably should have done that when it was off. So when you're putting this wire holder back, there's a offset part with a little spacer that goes up against the dust shield. The other end goes here. What messed me up for a minute was this wire clip, because it has this fold over the end. That has to go on there first. Then this bracket. And then one of the mounting bolts is longer, that goes on this end with the spacer, but also the ground wire for your brake sensors goes under that bolt. There was a star washer under there, it was kind of rusted, but I cleaned up the connector and it should be fine. So that way this wire can go into that clip. Getting ready to put the calipers on. We're just doing one more check of this cutaway for the piston angle. We're on the driver's side, so the wheel going forward is coming in this direction, and that's where the cutaway in the piston is. That leading edge will have less force going into the pad. So we've got our caliper, our new pads. We went with these dynamic friction 3000 series. It was a pretty reasonably priced ceramic. I'm hoping there will be lower dust with this. We'll see how these work out. You can either put the pads into the caliper now, assemble it, or put the caliper right on there and slide the pads in afterwards. I think I'm going to try that. Mounting the caliper, it's just these two bolts with a 19mm head. I feel like that sensor is not staying in there. So then you got the slide pins. I like to put a little bit of silicone grease on these, but not a lot. We'll finish this off with 63 foot-pounds of torque. And of course, one thing I did forget. Spring clipped. Now we're done. So I think I found a usable solution to the grommets that dry up and crack and fall apart on the brake cable here. I just went to the local hardware store, got a 9/16 grommet, that's the diameter of the groove in there, and I cut it so that I can put it around this cable and then drop a super glue in there. We'll attach it back together, and it seems to hold pretty well. We'll see how long that lasts, but I think that's going to work. Even if the glue doesn't hold, I think it's captured in that opening just enough that it's not going to fall out of there. So I think that's going to work. It's an easy solution because I didn't see those grommets available online. Look at that, it's a 7mm in the back, 8mm wrench in the front. Yeah, we still got fluid in there. I'm going to top that up and then we'll see if we can get under and do the clutch. This is certainly tight quarters down here. Probably be a lot easier if I just dropped the starter, which wouldn't take long at all. I do have the battery disconnected. Oh. Let's just see if we can get it first. All right, we got the hose on, but can we turn it? There we go. Okay, I think that's good. Make sure we're snug there. And that's it, our system is bled. Really happy with how the brakes came out. Doing the calipers in yellow, it's a bit of a contrasting color, but you don't see a whole lot of them. But it's just enough to see it, and I think it looks pretty good. You do see it a little bit more on the fronts because the calipers are closer to the wheel. This side's a little dirty. I'd done it over a year ago. Probably need to shoot a little more yellow on there and probably also get some clear over it to help keep it cleaner. But I painted the hub of the brake disc in black rather than leaving it the silver that it came in. And I kind of like that look. It sort of hides it better. I had already done the fronts, and it's pretty much the same exact process. They're very similar calipers, so glad to get that all done. It's a really easy thing to do, very inexpensive to rebuild them. Obviously the rust removal and painting, that was probably by far the longest part of it. Just rebuilding them with new seals and all is pretty simple, so glad to get it done. All right, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.